Good evening. Today is Tuesday, January 7th, 2020. The time now is 7:58, and I'm calling the Public Works Committee meeting to order. We've already had a moment of silent meditation and a pledge of allegiance. Madam Clerk, could we please have a roll call?
Roll call. Chairperson Roman.
Here.
Vice Chair Urbon.
Present.
Member Nickerson.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay, in regards to the agenda, we have the three items: the El Jardín New Phase construction update, discussion, and then a Panoni update and a tracking report. Does anybody have anything that they would like to add to the agenda?
No, Madam Chair. No.
Okay. Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second the motion to approve the agenda, Madam Chair.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next is the approval of the minutes. I have not personally been able to take a look at the minutes. Has anybody in the committee?
I have not either.
I have not, Madam
Okay,
Chair.
do I have a motion to move those to the next meeting?
It's a motion to table the minutes until the next committee meeting, Madam Chair.
And I will second that motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
We'll move the approval of the minutes to the next March meeting. Next, the first thing on the agenda that we have is the El Jardín, and I believe we have Orlando here, who's going to come up and give us an update.
Good evening, Council,
Good evening.
and Happy New Year to all. All right, so update to the El Jardín project. This project is grant funded by the state. Our scope was to do a 100% design of the El Jardín area, which covers the area between the Little River to the south, North Miami to the west, Northeast 2nd Avenue to the east, and all the way up to the Northeast 90th Street with stormwater improvements. So the project is pretty much fully designed. We were going to use the remaining grant dollars to do the construction phase, as the initial construction phase for this project. This was going to entail work along 86th Street, which is the road closest to the river. We started the project. We needed to get a positive legal outfall through a private property owner. The village had communications with the property owner off of 86th and 2nd Avenue. He gave the mayor, I believe, I don't want to hearsay, but the mayor got a verbal okay for us to go with that route to put a pipe through his property. When we started putting the legal documents together, the legal description of the size of the easement and the actual drainage easement agreement between the village and the property owner. To keep it short, he kind of backed off on allowing us to do that. So again, I had different options. So we went to option number 2, went to another address. We met with a resident on that day. He was very agreeable. Well, we thought he was agreeable. We made an amendment to our scope. We surveyed the property. Again, we created the legal description for our attorney to execute a drainage easement agreement between the village and the property owner. Then about a week later, they wrote, they changed their minds and they can't do it. So we're a little bit stuck on getting a stormwater outfall under 86th Street, and the grant is still in good shape. We just need to have a meeting with FDP to get an extension, and I think we have to execute that. I don't know why they said they haven't got an execution, but we will.
We'll work on that.
So what I suggested was, since the entire project is pretty much designed, what we could do is relocate the phase from 86th Street to, I believe, to what you have in your agenda, is do the work on what we show on C11 and C12, which is off on Northeast Miami Court and Northeast 87th Street. That'll cover the work. All the drainage improvements have to be done anyway, but I wanted to update the village to see if we were okay with moving that phase to these roads. I mean, FTP didn't have any problem with the relocation, so as long as the improvements stay within the El Jardín project limits. And today I had a conversation with Miami-Dade County Regulatory Economic Resources, the permitting folks who reviewed our stormwater project. They don't have a problem with it either. We just have to update our plans to show where we're gonna actually do the first phase of construction. So, and talking it over with the village manager, you know, we just want to bring it up to speed to let you know where we're at, and if we're okay with this phase, we can proceed to update our plans, finalize our permitting, and put something out to bid.
What is the difference, so educate me, between what we're looking at now and what we were looking at with the residents' easements?
Well, originally, we have a stormwater network designed for the entire El Jardín area.
Mm-hmm.
So all the water is collecting from the north all the way to the south. So we were just gonna build a piece of the system on 86th Street. What we would do now is just build a piece of the system on our northeast first course, as you see on your sheets.
Right.
And we will plug the catch basin, and then we're putting in exfiltration trench, which will capture water and infiltrate it. So you'll have some benefit, but you won't have a complete benefit of getting water discharging into the river yet, until you get that easement. Right now, what will happen is, once the capacity of the exfiltration trench system is overwhelmed, you'll get what's happening now, which is basically water just sheet flowing and going to the low spots, and going through people's yards and into the river. So it's not going to worsen anything. It's just going to improve the system. We're just reprioritizing the construction, because we're not having much luck getting a positive outfall for this area.
And what were the concerns from the residents in terms of the easements?
Well, I can speak to 3 residents we spoke to. They thought it was a great idea until it was in practice, and our attorney, worked on the legal paperwork and the easement documents. What I heard a lot was, well, if I want to sell my property, I've got this easement on my property. The issue is, it's very non-intrusive. It's just on the property line, and it's 7 feet within the property line. You're not going to build out your house all the way to the property line, but they wanted to not encumber it in any way. And we even heard from another resident, well, why can't somebody else do it? Why do I have to do it? Like, why can't, because nobody else is saying yes. I didn't, say that, but, that no one said yes. Or no one followed through with their yes.
Right, because once you put a storm pipe or any utility, whether it be sanitary or drinking water, potable water system, you can't put a structure on top of it, obviously, because if you need to maintain it, if you need to access it, you need to have you need the easement to access it. So what Christian was saying, we're trying to locate it either on the east or west side of those properties that were seemed doable for construction, because not every property is doable. I mean, the houses are really close, there's a lot of vegetation. So there's only a few houses that we had options with for constructability issues. But yeah, like she said, it's still, even though you can't build, up to your property line, they somehow felt they didn't want their property encumbered. Even though, they initially agreed, but.
Okay, just one second.
Sure.
Did you have something to say?
No, I'm just saying yes.
Okay. On the committee, does anybody have questions?
Yeah, Madam Chair, if I may. The property that we use for Arbor Day is
No, that's too far west. El
Okay, I
Jardín
wasn't sure.
is up to North Miami Avenue.
Yeah, that's right. It's just North Miami Avenue, so, yeah, okay. Yeah, that's right.
We're looking on the east side.
I have a question. All right. So what I see here in terms of, I'm looking at, C 01 through 06, right? And then all of the smaller sections in black, and then I have the C11 and C12 highlighted in red, right?
Yes.
Now, you're explaining that those are currently highlighted in red because of the need to use grant money that's still on the table and not lose that opportunity. Your original plan was to have phase one be the outflow
Right.
and then build the rest of the system off of that piece, having that outflow, right?
Right, because we
And-
wanted to build it from south to north, yeah.
So within this diagram, are we talking original goals of phase one being C07, 08, 09, or 10?
Right,
Is there any one of those specifically that was originally phase one?
yes, as a matter of fact, what I did, because after I sent that to Christia, let me show you show you the original limits. It's in blue.
Okay. So original phase one was 3 sections, but 10 being small, a little nub, right? Yeah. Okay. 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 So then one of my following questions then would be, it sounds like a reasonable and prudent thing to do to, switch to a different phase one to not lose the monies that are on the table, is my understanding. One concern I have, and I'd be very interested in hearing what the answer to this would be, is in building out C11, C12, I'm sorry, yes, C11, C12,
Yes.
as currently proposed, right? By increasing the efficiency of stormwater drainage from the north of this L section into the south of this L section, will that increase the amount of ponding that's going to occur at the east end of C11 without having that outflow available? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know,
Because if the
because-
system, the reason for the system going in would be to essentially increase the efficiency of storm drainage in the El Jardín area, right?
Right, but
And
this
so
is-
assuming that the construction project goes well, it would increase the efficiency of that storm water drainage. Would that not then create an exponential increase at the end of that system without having the outflow?
No, because what this is gonna be doing is basically, again, because this part of the drainage system has exfiltration trench, it's gonna create retention.
Okay.
So it's gonna capture water that's not being captured right now.
Sure, okay.
So it's gonna be an improvement.
So then the question becomes then, is an outflow necessary for the overall success of this project?
It's necessary if you're gonna build the entire system.
Okay.
And because you're gonna need it for the
Because that
larger.
accumulated overall efficiency
for the
will
larger-
create,
For your bigger storm events,
sure,
you want positive drainage.
of course.
But for your small summer afternoon thunderstorms,
Retention is good.
This will handle it,
Okay.
half an inch or an inch or
Sure.
2 inches, but, you like to have positive drainage for the bigger events.
That's my only question for now. I imagine I'll have one in about 30 seconds, but.
Thank you. Okay. And, Madam Manager, I'm guessing we're sitting here with Orlando because you are recommending this phase?
Yes, I am recommending the new phase. We have to utilize that money. I don't want to give it back, and we do need that work done. So this is our next best thing for now.
Okay. Arvin, do you have something
Yeah, I
else?
thought of another question.
Go ahead.
Okay, then this might be for the committee and the manager, even the attorney perhaps more so. By beginning this phase with C11, C12 as proposed to not lose the monies on the table, does that in any way lock us into or eliminate options for who will be doing not only this work, but you understand we have many more sections to go here, and so what are the repercussions? I guess either pros and cons of this in terms of needing to find somebody immediately, which in my mind does not put our best ability to control the cost and even the quality of the project. Those are my concerns looking at that, and so I'd just be curious to know if those have been considered.
We don't have to construct this immediately, we just have to do the designs and submit to FDEP. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, the
there's no.
design is done.
Okay.
And once we're ready to bid the project, it'll be a publicly bidded project, and you're gonna have qualified
And this is the
contractors.
extension that we were referring.
It's just to complete the designs and submit, and then we go to that process of the RFP and receiving. It's not rushed in terms of the construction part. We'll get there. We're just getting what we need to FDEP
Yeah,
so that
we'll-
we can get that
We'll
funding.
be advertising to get qualified contractors to build this system. It's actually, I mean, and then it's a process, and then we come back to the council.
sounds good.
For approval.
Perfect.
The recommendation, for sure.
Okay, sounds good.
Go ahead.
Madam Chair? Okay, so the original phase where we couldn't find, so all of these people, we couldn't find anything. What's up with that, I'm like always coming up with these little ideas. What's up with that property, that's right there on the corner of Northeast Second, the one that faces the old sub shop?
North Miami, on Northeast Second.
Northeast Second, that empty, like it's gonna always be
Across
empty.
from 86.
Because if you only need 7 feet,
Right.
what's up with that
The
property?
empty lot on
Yeah.
Northeast Second.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my.
That was our best
that was my
option.
dream child.
Yes.
To go there.
Well,
And the owner
And he
said
said yes.
at first,
And then he had some financial problem or issues and some legal issue, and
because that
then he
property's
came
been
back and
empty,
said
it's
no.
not gonna, nothing's gonna happen with that, but property's been empty for.
When do we talk to him?
Well, I've been calling him. I called him up to about a week ago. He still didn't answer. He has only been in touch with Mayor Cabillos, and he told her no as well. And I know that was just a few weeks ago. He's maintained no, because we actually went out and did an actual site, to see what other homes. I mean, I've asked Adam Old, who lives in that area too. His lot was too tight, but we've talked to everybody over there, and
property
that
would
would
be
be
perfect.
optimal, but he said no. And then another home was a pretty good site. He said yes. Then we got the paperwork together and the agreement, and then they came back and said no.
Right, that was at 136.
Yeah,
Or 86th Street.
yeah.
Irvin, do you have something else?
Yes, I have one more question. So as I'm looking at this, termed El Jardín, right? C01 through C06, stormwater drainage, we will be, at some point in the future, we're expanding this east and west to address stormwater throughout the entire village, correct?
Yes.
So I guess my question becomes, for future planning, are there any properties west of, or even perhaps east of, but I imagine west would be far more feasible. Are there any other properties, or would it be worth exploring if there's properties west of the El Jardín section to understand that, okay, we can go with future planning because we would have access to an outflow point at a new phase of construction in the future? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, well, let me go back to once upon a time when we did the village's original stormwater master plan. And the village had some existing outfalls out here, and so did this phase. They were undersized. I mean, they're like straws, basically. I mean, 12-inch, 10-inch pipes. I mean, they were like, I think 6 total. And we replaced outfalls on the west side of the village in previous phases. We've upsized them to 36-inch outfalls. Yeah.
Sorry, 36-inch?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And those were doable. When we came to this phase, the existing outfall that's on this right, it is so tight between the two houses, which is on North Miami side of the village, and it's not constructible to replace that storm pipe. So we had to find an alternate. But we don't discover that during the stormwater master plan. You discover that when you actually get real survey data and you start doing design and you start figuring things out, where utilities are at and all that fun stuff that we have to do when we do stormwater retrofitting. But ideally, you know, we looked at that empty lot to put that outfall. We planned for other stormwater improvements throughout the village. They've been prioritized throughout. And this was an area that that was next on the hopper, basically, too.
I have one more question. Would it be considered foolish to continue with this overall plan without having some sort of guarantee for outflow? If outflow is critical to the rest of this plan, and assuming worst case scenario of absolutely no, I mean, total stonewall, literally, right, of property owners offering any type of easement anywhere along that corridor, what becomes of something like plans for a stormwater system?
Well, then, like what's done through a lot of projects in Miami-Dade County, you install what we call a blind drainage system, which is a lot of exfiltration trench with no outfall. That's, in some areas of Dade County, the rock is very porous, and you can get that kind of benefit.
And with the rising water table, that would decrease the efficiency of such a system.
Exactly,
Okay.
but then you have, your climate change situation too, so, yeah.
Okay, I think I'm done.
Anything to add from the attorney?
No, thank you.
Okay. So I would guess we would then have to move this to the full council, right, for approval? Is that what we're looking to do? Okay, good. All right, so do we have a motion to move this to the full council?
I'll make a motion to move this to the full council, Madam Chair.
Okay, moved by Vice Mayor. Do I have a second?
I will second.
Okay, second by Urban, Councilperson Urban. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. What was that?
Should we do a roll call?
Oh,
You want to do a roll?
Madam Clerk, could we have a roll call?
Roll call. Member Nickerson.
Yes.
Vice Chair Urbom.
Yes.
Chairperson Roman.
Yes.
3-0.
Great, it's been moved to the full council. Wonderful.
you.
Thank you, Orlando. Okay, great. Next, Ruan, do you want to come up and give us a Pannoni update?
Very brief. Robert Ruano, 1544 Mercy Avenue, Coral Gables. Yes. So, as you know, we did manage to get the easement on a north-south orientation like we wanted, so that's good. We've got 80 feet going north. The last I heard, well, the village attorney is talking to Pannoni about the issue of the money that was pending. We're still not met yet on that. Pannoni, last I heard, they were reaching out to WASD about the orientation to make sure that that the way it was set up was fine with them. As I told Norman before, that WASD had already approved that. It was actually their orientation that Pannoni had done on a previous design, which we sent to WASD, and I asked them how wide we needed, how long we needed it to be in order to be north-south and have the proper access for the vehicles, and they agreed to 80 feet. So I'm assuming that once they get back a response from WASD, which I can actually help them, I'll reach out to their assistant director and connect the two. They'll say, yeah, it's fine. And so once we get through the negotiation about the money that's left, we can continue on the work, which is basically finalizing the actual layout of that pump station and going for the permits, which would put us in the May meeting right now, because we can't make February. It would put us in the May meeting. So now, granted, we may even want to, once we get a little bit closer and we get everything from them, we may want to ask the state to push us forward and actually wait till the next fiscal year, which will be in August, because there will be more money there.
Right.
But we have to make that decision once we get a little bit closer.
Okay. Any questions from the committee?
Just one question.
Go ahead.
This might be something everyone already knows, but in negotiations, how far apart are we?
I kind of anticipated that, and I thought it would have been better just to give kind of an overview for the benefit of you, Commissioner. Basically, generally, we can talk about this further offline. We had an issue with Benoni concerning the original agreement and how the funds were allocated under that. And we did reach a resolution that was proposed to the council or the committee several months ago. So we had essentially worked out everything. However, during the presentation, Benoni stated that they were concerned that if for some reason the orientation of the easement changed, that may lead to further costs to the village, which was at the time not anticipated. We didn't expect that to happen. So we tabled that agreement. So having said that, essentially, if what we expect to come back from WASD is that the orientation is fine, it's in keeping with what was originally submitted, there should not be any further negotiations, any further discussions about Benoni and the village, and we just move forward with what was originally presented and tabled. That's the expectation. I did send Stephen Elias, Benoni's representative that we work with, the easement. He's looked at it. He did confirm that it's a different configuration, and as Mr. Rano just pointed out, that he wants to confirm from WASD that there's not going to be any additional, I guess, drawings or plans necessary to deal with the orientation. So he said second week in January.
Okay,
So I have it calendared to get back to him.
sounds good. Thank you.
That's it?
Okay, so then we'll wait and get another update after the second week of January, right?
If there is one, I'll do it at the council.
Council meeting? Okay, perfect. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Before you go, Ruano,
Yes, yes, ma'am.
I got an email, but then this is before I answered the village manager, before I found out that I was going to be the chair of this committee. So, I know that we have to have a Tree City USA board meeting.
We have a tree board meeting.
Tree board
of
meeting.
some sort, yes.
And we need to put together a board. I asked the village manager to get with the mayor because she mentioned that at the last council meeting. And then I asked briefly after the meeting, and she said that she was handling it. But, so this is before I found out I was the chair here. So we'll have the village manager check in with the mayor to see if she has any residents that are wanting to be on that board. What I need is, what are the, maybe some minutes from the last board meeting, or just some information that I can give to a couple of residents that I have in mind, because of course they're going to want to know, what does this what does this entail, et cetera. So I need that information, possibly ASAP, because I do know that we need to get this done right away.
Yeah, we should have a meeting in January, hopefully.
Okay, so in order to do that, if, village manager, if you can get that to me as soon as possible, and then we'll get that together.
I will.
Okay,
Very good.
all right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right, next we have the tracking report. I have to say that I've been under the weather and I've been in bed since Friday. And so I've not had a chance to take a look at the tracking report, but we will go over it. And perhaps village manager and anyone on the committee that has been on this committee in the past, can chime in and decide whether or not we're keeping some of these items on the tracking report so that we can update that for the next, as we move forward for this year. Okay?
Okay.
All right, so the first thing is the streetscape village traffic calming. Did you
Okay.
have an update on that?
Well, the
Yeah.
update, streetscape part, I don't know yet. We're doing a village-wide traffic calming that we just talked about in code enforcement and public safety. And, I mean, so I think it's the same project. It's just, I guess, another way for us to discuss it for Public Works. I'm sure the beautification aspects of the calming is going to come from the planning and zoning. I mentioned that we are working with our planning and zoning team to do some traffic calming on Northeast Second Avenue, and I'm remembering correctly that the former chair of this committee wanted to see some streetscaping on Northeast Second Avenue, and that would assist with the calming. So that is being reviewed and discussed, and hopefully we can discuss that with the county when they come to meet with us about the speed analysis and what have you. So they're kind of linked, but the update is that once we have an opportunity to sit with the county and go over speed reduction and traffic calming and what we envision for Northeast Second Avenue, that would be taken care of in this item.
Okay. So from what I'm understanding here in the status, and how we from what I understand that this committee, what this committee takes care of, it mentions signage, village-wide signage, road work and repair, potholes. So that would be something that would stay in this committee, right?
Yes.
And so are we looking at, did we start looking at village signage and?
Yes. Okay, so as part of that planning and zoning walkthrough that we did with at nighttime, the police chief, myself, and Mayor Cubillos. So we looked at signage, we looked at lights, we looked at potholes, we looked at street surfaces. So,
So should we keep this in
Yes.
Public Works,
I
or
think we
should
should.
it be moved to?
No, I mentioned that we talked about it in the other one because part of it is public safety,
Right.
and another part is, planning and zoning. I think it should stay here, but it's going to be the same update that it would be from those two committees as well. What I can add from a planning and zoning perspective is that the beautification part with the calming is something we're looking at Northeast Second Avenue when it comes to the reducing the lanes to one lane and then putting in the parking. So that's where
Right.
planning and zoning comes in. The public safety part is the reduction of the speed and the signage, as well as the public works portion, having the county come out. Now, I've already contacted the county about the potholes. I wanted to do an MOU with them. We've gone back and forth. They were to give me a cost estimate. Then they came back and told me just the week before Christmas they don't have enough staff to take on our project, which is sad because we do need our potholes and our roads resurfaced. So I'm going to continue to work on that. I'm actually reaching out to county commission chair to see if she can give us some assistance in seeing what we can do with the county, because we don't have the capacity to do road work, but the county does. I just want,
Right.
we were willing to pay for it. They're saying they just don't have staff, but I want to see what more we can get from that. So that's what I mean. There are some things that we can discuss when we have the county come out to meet with us as a community, and we can ask them about what can we do, what help can they give us.
Okay. And then, in terms of signage, I mean, I think what comes to mind to me is the Village of El Portal welcome signs.
Okay.
And so is that something that we have looked at, or?
Yes, we have, we do maintain the wall signs. Our contractor does. We have not replaced any signs just yet because we have a couple of different kinds of signs. I'm trying to wait to see what kind of funds we have before we make a decision on how we're going to replace that sign on North Miami Avenue, as well as the sign that's right here on in the roundabout and some other places where we have Welcome to El Portal signs.
Yeah, like for instance, the wood sign is pretty
Yes,
old.
exactly.
So I think in general, maybe not something urgent that we need to do like tomorrow, but it is something that we should start looking at. Is to beautify, and I think that's probably where the previous chair was
Yes.
going with beautification of, the village, just having that
Yes.
part of code enforcement that applies to us.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Anything from the committee on those? Yeah.
Along the same lines, I have a question. Is there anything on the horizon that would indicate that we're going to be, in terms of street signs, locations of stop signs, for example, things like, is there anything at all on the horizon that would indicate that we would be changing the style of street signs, like in El Portal, Just curious. Right.
No.
Okay, so then, then our priority essentially in the meantime, before we talk about the signs to the entrance to the village, most any sign that would be folded in half, leaning over, broken, faded, etc., all of those signs would be essentially green lighted to be replaced fairly
Yes.
immediately, right? Are there any issues with those standard, like street signs specifically, names of streets that we have in El Portal that we know of?
No.
Okay.
We're just doing an assessment, and our goal is to replace signs that are broken, damaged,
Sure.
leaning, those are the signs. We're not really replacing or changing the looks of signs.
Perfect.
We're just not in that financial place to be able to do that right now.
That's not where I'm going with that, but
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. But and then the wooden sign, for example.
Yes.
In the meantime, would we not be able to do something like a sand and repaint of that sign, even just to brighten it? You know, while we would be deciding on a larger plan for those signs.
We can find someone to do it.
Okay. All right.
I
that's-
think if my mind, you know, if I remember some time ago, maybe 3 years ago, I think it was before the village manager, Lou, came, the mayor had asked the previous manager to take a look at our signage and just to see if there were, or get some RFPs, some quotes, not RFPs, some quotes on, you know, getting some of them fixed. I don't know if that wood sign was, but we will have all new staff now, so maybe it is a good time for us to just see what we can do, if there's anything to salvage what we have,
Right.
make it look better,
Okay.
until we're able to replace them. And so I'll change this. I don't think it should say traffic calming because it has nothing to do with traffic calming.
I agree.
So maybe I'll just put signage and
Streetscape.
streetscape.
Okay.
Anything else on that? No? Okay. We already spoke about the El Jardín stormwater, so I'm gonna
Yes.
go over that.
Mhm.
I'm gonna pass through that.
Mhm.
Parks maintenance improvement, if you could just give us an update in regards to the parks.
Yes, well, we are, we're presently just doing the basic maintenance that we've been doing for the past year. As you know, we are also looking to, I mean, I haven't started this process yet, but we're going to be improving all of our parks, thanks to a development agreement that came from our annexed area, so that will allow us to do a major overhaul of our parks. So once we have that all ironed out as to how those funds will be used, I'm expecting that we would have to get an architect in to look at our parks and then make some decisions about what we want them to look like. So that is something that is positive and coming out, I'm sure, in this year. So that's my plan, and I know that would stay here.
Okay.
in Public
What's
Works.
your timeline in terms of getting an architect or someone to look at our parks to give us some designs?
When we get the money.
Some of the money in?
When we get the
Okay.
money, and and also I can take some direction. I know that there were some conditions that some residents as well as some members of the council wanted to put on just the way it's been and what they envision. And so with that, I want to take those suggestions and see how we can best get the best bang for our buck. So is that an architect? Is that an engineer? I don't know yet, so I would have to do a little more research, but I will know that once I, get the okay and go ahead from that resolution from the development agreement.
Okay. In the meantime, I happened to walk through the Sheriff Forest Park the other day, not long ago, maybe over the holidays sometime. Not looking great.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably landscaping that I noticed. So, maybe it's a good time to just take a look to see what we can do with our minimal,
Okay.
for now, just for the upkeep.
Just a cleanup, a good
Just-
cleanup.
yeah,
Okay.
Anybody on parks,
Okay.
on the committee? No? Okay. S2S project?
Okay, septic to sewer, that's
Oh,
what we
septic
just talked
sewer.
about, Panomi.
Okay, so we just talked about that, so we'll
Yes.
skip that over.
Mhm.
intern pilot program for Public Works. And so this was an intern that I think previous councilperson Dreyer had proposed, and then I think I did hear that Mathis did want to bring that back. Is that something that, village manager, that you see is needed, and is that something that we should keep there?
Well, as you know, we do need we need public works.
Right.
We only have a staffer who's very limited in his capabilities for that, you know. But I don't know if it should be an intern. Again, with the development agreement that we are discussing and finalizing, I think that would be an opportunity for that person maybe to be a full-time person, Public Works, as opposed to an intern. But or maybe a full-time person would come on, and then we can have an intern to assist or back up or just do that. But I think we're going to need a lot more substance and maybe some permanency as opposed to having an intern come in when we're about to have so much change. So if we could just leave that, I mean, I'm willing to, or yeah, we could keep it on the list, because I'm thinking once we have a permanent Public Works staff person, then we could have an intern to back that person up or give substance to that role.
Okay. All right. I think we sort of spoke about this, but maybe not. North Miami medians.
Oh, yeah.
So, give us an update, because I do believe, I didn't get a chance to come to that workshop.
Oh, yes, the
that was
bridge
held.
workshop.
So if you could give us an update maybe on that, while also what's happening with the palm trees that we have planted
Yes.
there that they wanted to remove.
That's exactly what I'll discuss. We had a public meeting here with the county to discuss the road work and bridge work that was going to take place at the end of this, or was supposed to start at the end of this month on North Miami Avenue. With that was going to be the removal of the vegetation on 2 of the medians on North Miami Avenue. As you all know, we have very mature palms that we planted some years ago on those medians, and the county and FDOT have stated that we have to take those palm trees out. We're still at the point where we have to take them out. So at the end, community members were here arguing like, we want our trees. It's Tree City USA. We planted them. We were allowed this back in, I think it was 2011 or whenever it was that they were allowed. And why can't we keep them? We haven't gotten an opinion yet, but Mayor Cabillos and I discussed going to a higher authority, or maybe going to FDOT to see if there's some way we can lobby for the trees. And so we haven't had an opportunity to revisit just yet, because that meeting was on the I think it was the day after our last council meeting, which was at the end of December. So we'll pick that back up. But in the meantime, that construction is slated for no date specific in January, at the end of January, but it's coming, so we need to work quickly if we want to save them. If we can't save them, they have offered us the opportunity to replant those 6 mature palms. I don't know where we're going to put them, but we'll find a place. We wouldn't want to see them destroyed. But
Did they mention why Miami Shores is able to have palm trees, and why all of a sudden we need to remove them from there?
yes, they said because Miami Shores isn't having construction done right now, but if they do, they'll take them down as well. It's just that we're
Okay, so
having
is it just for the construction the trees need to be removed?
No, it's for the sight line is against FDOT regulations. It's too high. They're saying it can only be 3 feet or 4 feet high, and clearly they're 30 feet high. So we're told that they cause accidents, and that anything that it would obstruct needs to be removed, and that they've been allowed because they haven't needed to take them down, but now that they need to, they're going to remove them, and they have to abide by the rules. And that it's terrible that it's been allowed, and people have enjoyed these trees, and they look great, but they're going to remove them
Okay. Arbom, do you have
as of now.
something?
Yeah, so I attended the workshop and
Yes.
and I tried not to scare off the county people too badly, but but
It was a
I was a
meeting.
little intense for them, I think. But so the answer I had gotten from them regarding the trees was that just like we would have if someone's doing work to their property and it's not up to date with current code, we require that they get it up to date with current code. That's the explanation, essentially, in a nutshell, that they're giving for why and those trees will go away. And the reason behind that has to do with the engineering department within the county, and that it has to do. They consider those trees a hard barrier in the event of accident, and so. Going back to another discussion, we're going to be curious to find out if we ever were able to get a lower speed limit on Northeast 2nd Avenue, would those still qualify with the engineering department with the lower speed on that road for being the same type of hazard with the higher speed that's permitted now, right? And so those two issues in my mind are definitely related. So any petition to saving those trees would have to go, my understanding would be through the engineering department within the county. And so it's in theory possible that by the time they get to that phase of doing that work, there might be an agreement made between the village and the engineering department that maybe an additional barrier would have to be constructed in terms of preventing vehicles from wrapping around a tree, for example. Which I understand. I lost a cousin when I was younger, exactly that. So so that was essentially the reason given. Now, the other part is to realize that any design we do for that entrance to El Portal is going to have to be approved by the engineering department within the county, as essentially what they were saying. So there's an even larger discussion here of what to even do with that space at all. Once this, because they're going to take the trees out and put them where we tell them to, or they'll take them, I guess. And then what's going to be left behind is a husk of that median that we're going to have to perhaps do something with. They're not going to re-beautify that median, I don't believe.
No, they will. It actually belongs to them.
Okay.
They are to maintain them, but they didn't because we took it over. That's what they
okay,
explained to us,
okay.
that we, asked for the permit to put the trees
Okay.
in, and we got the permit. I mean, it was allowed, those years ago. But as Councilperson Urban said, now that we're going in and they're, we have to go be compliant with their
So who knows?
code
Maybe
now.
we could get a stay of execution, as it were, like an extension, right? And
Okay, so,
so for example, I would want to put the question to the engineering department: if we were successfully to get a lower speed limit on that, would they still be required to be removed under their guidelines? That would be one question I would put to them. I'll leave it at that.
I can just tell you about North Miami Avenue. They're not going to lower that speed limit because it's the main.
Right,
it's a-
Biscayne. I mean, the efforts that have been taken on Biscayne Boulevard to deal with those issues with pedestrian and bikes is going absolutely nowhere with the state overall and the county certainly. There seems to be zero interest whatsoever in making these roads pedestrian or bicycle friendly. So, but there is a concerted effort out there to try and accomplish something like that. So there are certainly organizations we might even couple with to just be a louder voice within the state, because it's a significant problem on Biscayne, and they're just absolutely ignoring the reality and refusing to lower speed limits on Biscayne and even alter the traffic pattern itself. So I'd be willing to push pretty hard on that. But anyway, I think it's the engineering department that we're up against for the trees and the median. So that's all I got.
something?
Yeah, Madam Chair, if I may,
Yes, Mayor.
very quickly. In order to prepare for what is probably a battle that we're probably not going to win as far as saving the trees, because January is, if they're going to start at the end of January, it's right there. There's no way between, just like the politics of how government works, that we're going to be able to get through all the space that we'll be able to get through. I would suggest, because we've been talking about this for a while, developing that west side of Horace Mann along the tree line, along the fence line.
Mm-hmm.
They've been talking about that, it's so empty, it doesn't look good. Dr. Ward's come in before about that.
Mm-hmm.
If we can just take all 6 of those palms, put them there, and then maybe throughout time, we can put other little things around it, and then slowly we can make that tree, that west side of Horace Mann look really pretty. It's spaced, there's not a lot of trees there, so they have the space to be able to they're tall, and so I think that would be
We
perfect.
don't have a lot of different options in terms of placing them, so I'd like to hear what the manager, if you've
I can
already
say-
given some thought to that.
Yes, I have, and they don't go, they wouldn't be able to go there. And we have ordered about 30 some, actually, I think it was, I can't remember, but Councilperson Roman sits on a board with Robert Ruano, and they have ordered trees for that scaping, and we're actually making that area tree-friendly, walkable over in Horseman, and I've already ordered the trees for that. They're small trees. So those trees are, I don't think they'll be able to go, they're too far, too large, and they're too developed to be on a swale like that.
Okay, did you give it some thought in regards to where we would move those palm trees to? I mean, if you didn't, that's fine. I mean, if we could just,
I have been told it needs to be a space big enough for that route, and I don't know where that would be. I think I've asked almost everybody. I would love to put them somewhere around here in the village hall or in the park tot lot, but I don't know that that's a good idea either, especially if we're about to redevelop the parks.
Irvin?
I'm curious to know the value of those trees, because I'm sitting there thinking, is there a large landscaping company that could handle the purchase of those trees, and then we have a public works truck?
That's a good idea. Yeah, I mean, they are valuable. Palm trees are very expensive, especially at that size.
I have way too many in my yard. You cannot give me one. I will put it back out on the street. But I was planning on getting rid of I have 11 on my property. Not that size, but 11 of those trees. It's right. The former owners, don't ask me what they were thinking, but there they are in groups of 3 and then a couple of volunteers. But they survived, or they came through Irma. Like, I was going to get rid of them, and after Irma, I'm like, oh, they can stay. I would,
Palm trees actually help with.
Those will be a huge benefit to somebody. If we don't have something, then maybe we get a public works and even a code enforcement car out of it or something.
I'll look into that.
Okay, perfect. But if we could try to fight to try to keep them, or put some type of barrier that would help. I mean, I understand the concerns. I don't know that we're going to win.
Let's just not be shocked if a resident chains themselves in one of those trees.
I mean, I mean, I guess whatever we can do from our part to try to, keep them and where they are, and see if there's a barrier, or maybe even get the signs of what they are going to replace it with. Like, what would they, what's it going to look like? So, I mean, I don't know if they have those designs in the county, but, okay. Thanks.
I have final question on that.
Okay.
Then are we saying that the maintenance of that median after this construction will be county responsibility?
Yes, it will be.
If the trees are removed.
Yeah.
If the trees stay, then it's our responsibility.
Right.
But, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, the next is the tot lot improvements. It says moved. So has this moved?
No, I'm assuming we're good. It hasn't moved anywhere, except that I know that'll be part of our new park plan,
Okay.
So-
All right, so we're going to table the tot lot because we're going to put that as part of the parks. Okay, perfect. Seawall project, it says inactive. Anything that you have on the seawall?
No, I have nothing on the seawall. I haven't worked on that. I do, just because I wanted to know what was happening with seawall. I was just told that it kind of stalled some time ago because residents could not agree on seawall improvement project, so I left it alone.
Yeah. That was probably like 8 years ago or something like that. So what basically happened was that because everybody we need to see
Right.
the seawalls are they're disappearing or whatever. So we need that. But what was happening was that there were some people that wanted their own design of it. They wanted to come in because at one point we were really close to getting the funds to be able to do like a seawall, and then some residents came out and were like, well, we don't like the design that like the state and them were like going to come in and do. I have my own designer that'll do a beautiful seawall, but then it started to become a logistic thing because you can't go from like what the county wanted to like their design and then back to what the county wanted. It wouldn't like work. It wouldn't work right. So eventually it just got kind of.
So, I mean, and I think that's just bringing some thoughts back. where I've heard that this is, if you purchase your home on the river, it's your responsibility. And is that correct? Yes. Okay, so then I guess we will table that. Okay, perfect. So we'll leave that inactive. I know that there is Ibis, who lives on the river, was interested in, and maybe that's something that the residents themselves on their end, maybe Ibis will want ahead since she lives there, and see, what they want to do as a whole. And if there's something that we could assist with, then they can come back to us about that. Okay. Third Avenue, Northwest Third Avenue landscaping, it says inactive. Okay, this is what we've already talked about. This is behind Horace Mann, the landscaping, and we are planting there. So
Yes, we are.
we've already talked about that. So maybe we'll just update there as to when do you think that we'll get the trees in?
I don't know yet. I know it's a matching grant, so
Uh-huh.
we will have to give some money, which we, are aware
Right.
of. I don't know yet. I'm waiting for Rolando to get back with me on when
Okay,
we start that
so
process,
I'll
but we did get the grant.
update this, and that's the tree, I'll update that with the grant info.
Yes.
And then, we'll put it active. Since you are, we will be planning something there and hopefully moving that forward. Okay, thanks. And then, this is inactive, and I guess we'll leave it inactive, the dog park. If you want to look at that during the architecture, you're welcome to. I don't know how much of a need that is here, but, we can look at it when we look at the parks. Rail Northwest 86th Street, inactive. Anybody know what that was?
There was a rail that was broken, a railing that was broken, and since it cost so much money to get it fixed, we were just like, it's not a top priority, so we know it needs to be fixed. But they just put it as inactive because it wasn't
What type of rail?
a top
Talking about-
priority to be
We're talking about
fixed.
guardrail?
It was, I'm trying to remember, man. Yeah, it was, I want to say it might be a rail that might be close to where we do the Arbor Day thing. It was somewhere, it might be somewhere around there.
Like with a footbridge?
Maybe over by the footbridge somewhere or something like that. It was a rail over on that side somewhere that needed to be fixed. It wasn't totally like broken or like missing, but it just needed to be like, maybe it was like it's coming loose a little bit and it needed to be fixed or something like that. But for how it wasn't, it just came to the decision of the chair at that time that it wasn't.
How long ago was this?
A year.
5 years ago, 10 years ago?
No, this was recent. This was pretty recent.
I don't remember this.
Yeah, this was pretty
Oh.
recent. This was like a year or a year and a half ago or something
I
like
remember.
that. Yeah.
Okay,
or something like
so,
that,
Chrissy, if you could ask the mayor if she remembers
Yes.
anything about this.
Okay.
And then let me know, and if not, then we'll just completely remove it, because it makes no sense to keep anything on here that nobody knows about.
Okay, I will.
All right. Anything else from the committee,
Madam Chair.
or anything that should be on here?
Tree trimming. Tree trimming is one I think that we might have skipped over by mistake. Yeah, it was number. It was right after the medians, number 7.
Oh, did I skip over tree trimming? Oh, I did, and that's big.
Yes.
Any updates with tree trimming?
No update, but we do an annual tree trimming, and it is scheduled for July.
Yeah.
The previous chair, Councilperson Mathis, I remember, didn't he say there was a whole thing with he wanted to look at like a new company or something like that? Didn't he bring up something like that? Because we were looking at the pricing of like the landscaping and the tree trimming. I remember he brought that up one time. Councilperson Mathis was talking about the landscaping and tree trimming and the cost of the landscaping and tree trimming. And I think we all were talking about, we maybe we should put it out for bid or something. It's been a long time that we've had the same companies, and maybe we
This
can get it
company's new.
cheaper,
Christia
so-
hired them.
Okay.
This
And
is-
they've been
So maybe
doing,
it had already been done.
and they've been doing a pretty good job. I mean, depends on who you speak to, because some people think that it's too much trimming. In my opinion, in the entire time that I've lived here since 2005, it's the best tree trimming we've ever had. So, I mean, the manager's happy with it. I don't see why we need to make any changes.
Just, maybe it was probably made. How long ago have we had this tree trimming company?
It's only been a year or 2 years.
A couple
This
years?
is our second year. Remember, it was under Mitchell Lawn Service,
remember-
and they did it a year. He retired
retired.
and sold the business to Orchid Man.
Okay.
So Orchid Man is now our tree trimmer.
Okay,
But
okay,
no,
okay.
it's new, and they
Okay.
are
So
well.
maybe this was, he was
I
saying
think
that maybe from
the
before.
discussion was that they had retired and we had a new company, and we were gonna evaluate whether or not they were good.
Maybe that's what.
Because, they sort of took over.
I got you.
So I think that's what I recall
Maybe
from
that's
the
what it was.
conversation. But I think for now, we'll wait till July and have our annual tree trimming.
No, I wasn't saying that they should be changed. I was just trying to remember what the last year came up with. But it's
Yeah.
been changed and we're good. I have no.
And it will coincide with the bulk pickup, as we did last year, to save on some costs. Okay.
Excellent. Okay, great. Does anybody in the committee have anything else? Manager, do you have anything else?
No, I do not.
Okay, wonderful. Do I have a motion to end this meeting?
I'll make a motion to adjourn, Madam Chair.
I will second that motion.
Okay, it's been motioned by the vice mayor, second by Erbaum. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The time now is 8:59. Our meeting for Public Works ends. Thank you.